To enjoy this and other great episodes on Patreon, check out the link in the description and subscribe via the Black Kluge tier for full access to over 100 exclusive episodes. For those of you who would like some QF swag on Teepublic, t-shirts, magnets, mugs, what have you, also click on the link in the description.
Just do me a favor. If 5 years from now I was right, you tell me. All right? Thank you.
If we're still speaking.
Jeez, he's such a... See, even that, he's nasty.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll stop talking to you.
Yeah, I'll stop talking. Well, I don't threaten people.
No. And what's so great about it is that if I met you in person, you wouldn't have the balls to come up and say that to me. Because I'd sock you in the fucking head. And probably deck you.
When I was a little kid, yeah, he just slowed it down. When I was a little kid, my dad would take me to ball games. I would sit there with my hands over my head. I was so scared of getting hit by a ball.
I was going to look for a Nikki Hilton. But you see, those good-looking rich girls, they don't go for a guy like me because they don't need my money.
But it's my mind, not my penis, that I have to train.
Yeah, I'm working on training my penis. That's where I've been going wrong. That's why I lost half my money. I can't believe my penis. Train the mind.
And all you do is mooch off of people. You do nothing. You're a big homo.
That's not entirely true.
What do you do, really?
I'm bisexual and I don't mooch off everybody.
The single best thing about going out with Howard is that we get courtside seats to the Knicks game.
Yeah, we loved it.
Damn!
When did you have your interviews? During the day?
How am I supposed to find a new job?
I don't know.
Send out smoke signals?
So, anybody would leave that job that you left with us.
And the one thing I don't respond well to is humiliation. I don't respond well to it at all. You know, I want to be told what a shithead I am. I don't want to, those days are over. I've suffered enough in this business. I don't need to find out what a shithead I am.
But look at your hair. I mean, every curl was manufactured. It's terrific. And you're a radio guy. You're not even on TV.
I am on TV. I'm on demand, and I was on E for 11 years.
Yeah.
It's the #1 show on E for
It was exciting. You and Joan Rivers. I couldn't get enough of that.
I mean, Gary's got a wife and kids. And if I leave, who the fuck is going to hire him?
Just help me out. Turn out the lights so I don't have to pay the electric bill every minute. It makes me sick.
Real, the hair is real, and I don't color. Don't get too frisky.
I mean, if I was to give it a good yank, you wouldn't just...
No, wouldn't all fall out. No, I have my own hair.
And you dye it, obviously.
I do not color it. As you can see,
What?
I have some gray in it, but no, I'm very blessed. My grandfather...
Look me in the eye and repeat that.
I swear on a stack of Bibles that I don't color my hair.
It's that 3 months into this relationship that you told him, Howard, this relationship is all about you.
Oh, I think I knew that from day one, but I'm okay with it. It's all about him, Ed. We watch TV, what he wants to watch. We eat. We wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. We go to bed at 8. I love it, though. It's my life.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to QF, quite frankly, a Howard Stern podcast. I'm your designated driver for today. I am I will not be drinking for this session. I have responsibilities later on tonight. And I'm kicking myself in the shins for that. But I am your boy, Jay Santi, here. Today I am going by Miss America Reviewer Jay. And I'm here with, of course, the lovely, the vivacious, the fun-loving Raven. How's it going, my dear?
Hi, James. Glad to be your co-pilot on this ride. And looking forward to wrapping up this one on Miss America. It's part 3. So... I hope everybody's been enjoying so far, and I'm sure if we get to everything that we plan on, it'll be a fun ride.
I was thinking earlier about us sitting back and doing this this review and this overlook of the I guess the shout outs that he would call it in his book for the crew, and it kind of reminded me, for some reason I was drawn to our favorite show, MASH, and it reminded me of the episode when our guy, Benjamin Franklin, Hawkeye Pierce, has to go to the front line to help with the injured soldiers there, and he realizes how dangerous it is, and he begins to write a living will and testament. And he goes through and gives his thank yous, and he pays his homage to his fellow persons at arms and his fellow people in medicine.
Comrades.
His comrades. And I said, wow, Wiggy did the same thing here, but the opposite. He just basically
Exactly.
while Hawkeye sat there and showed so much love and endearing to his fellow soldiers and such, Wiggy basically threw a lot of his peoples under the bus.
Mm-hmm. In Wiggy fashion, it wasn't even his work. It was the work of a fan that wrote a letter, and he saved it and used the fan's work as his own in his book.
Yeah, it's very Wiggy to say that I did all of this out of love, but yet still finds a way to just berate and make those around him feel like shit.
Yeah, it's quite amazing that, he can stand there and say, I gave you this life, but what he gave them is just a pittance compared to what he kept for himself. If they were so beloved and admired and he was so gracious for their work, then he should have compensated all of them much better. And rather, he hoarded the marbles. And still to this day, I mean, you see staff that can't live in the city, have to move out, have to sell their house, have to do other gigs, just Sal with his YouTube channel, different things. And it just goes to show that, he hasn't changed his colors or his spots at all in all these years.
I was just recently passed over some information that's going to make the social media rounds. As you guys know, I do a podcast, Turnbuckle Tabloid. It's a wrestling podcast, if you might have heard it. And there was a salary that was released from 2005 to 2006 of all the wrestlers on the roster.
Oh.
And it's substantial numbers. I mean, ridiculous amount of salary rise. I mean, from the full roster, I could only probably say a handful, probably 6, 7 maybe, were only making 5 figures. Everyone on their is making 6 figures a year, plus accoutrements, first class, first tickets, hotel accommodations and stuff like that. But for the most part, the masses were being paid well. This is 0506.
Okay.
Now, I'm not equating the Howard Stern universe to WWE, but at one point in time, that show was a cash cow. It was bringing in ad revenue. It was bringing in tons of markets and such. And
yeah, it's true.
The roster could be could be up in the 3 figures, as in hundreds of people on the roster. Wiggy only had 25, 30, at his time being, and some of those people could have been paid handsomely.
Right. He has double that now on staff, with most of them probably being, paid per bit, contractors or people who are just used maybe once a month for something. Or there's people who just record songs for him, the parody songs, the intro song, and some of them are doing mashups. They did an EDM one this week that was just god awful. And I think that some of those people are just, this is like a part-time gig or a hobby for them. It's not like he says he has 75 on staff, but I'm guessing at least 20 of them contribute just, once a month.
Right.
So to look at their numbers, but then you have certain people like Wilding and Blitt who've come to the forefront, and then you still have Ronnie coming in, Hine, Bowie, Robin's cackle, which her fake laugh has gotten really bad lately. Mm-hmm. It's nothing like it used to be. Bowie's voice is shot. I listened to something from 15 years ago with Bowie, and then I listened to this week's, and the comparison is just, it's like 2 different people. It's so scratchy. It's all used up from cigarettes or pills or whatever has gone on with him, like just age in general. He's lost his timbre. He's it's not sounding the same. But back to the money, that will never change. And the way things are with Sirius having 475 layoffs of employees. Everybody's wondering, is anybody from Wiggy's staff going to go? And honestly, it's very possible. They may offer some of them like smaller packages, maybe without benefits or less pay. And it'll be interesting to see if anybody steps down or just, decides to hang on because they got nothing else going on. Like Mehmet comes to mind because he just got married and you don't really hear from him very often. Every once in a while, like with Lenny Dykstra, he'll be a handler for him. There's talk that he might even be out in LA working at Sirius. So maybe they're picking up other jobs through Sirius while working for Wiggy. But Richard and Sal are still around. That's the one question people seem to ask a lot. And Benji. Anybody else I really can't speak for. Ralph still calls in once a week. Ronnie's used for about an hour each week. But, I think they're all getting paid hourly. It's just, except for Ralph. I'm sure he has a yearly salary and expectations. Let's just say that Wiggy has of him to arrange certain things or be certain places for him. I don't know. Shopping.
Now, if there are layoffs, are there packages being created for exiting employees? Will it be mentioned on the show?
No, never. I don't believe so. If anything, there might be a Jennifer Witz impersonation with some passive digs that maybe the staff would write into that. I just don't see him bringing it up. I do see him possibly bringing up Andy Cohen recently trying to be squeezed out of Bravo because he loves to shit on Andy. And Andy, is in good favor with Jennifer Witz. So anything he can do to keep Andy down, let's say, because Andy has 2 channels on Sirius and Wiggy has 2. So of course Wiggy's probably trying for a third like Andy got with his music channel. I'm sure that could be a reason why he talks so much about music facts off of breaks and commercial bumpers, like with leading in with a song and then fun facts about it, and complaining to Fred that one of them wasn't on his playlist, and they might not have the rights to him at Sirius, but I think there's also avoiding royalty charges and then trying to get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and possibly getting a third channel, which is just like a Wiggy's approved music channel. These are just thoughts. I don't have proof of any of them, but I have to wonder, like, why all of a sudden last year he started talking so much about music. And, he had Jan Winter in from Rolling Stone magazine, who's on the board for the Hall of Fame. And he pretty much determines who gets in, who doesn't, or who gets voted upon to be put in. So it's just interesting the way the plugs roll, and he's in with Hulu, Amazon, Netflix, those things. He only mentions stuff if there's money involved. He won't give a brand name of something unless there's a kickback for him or something in it for him or his staff, let's just say.
Long gone are the days of Snapple commercials. Long gone are those days.
Yeah. Heineken too, right?
Yeah, long gone are those days. I'm still amazed that there's even still 2 channels. I mean, with all the content that he can't stop on YouTube, all the audiences that's been scurrying away from Sirius and the channels and such. I'm even amazed that they still will give him 2 channels.
The 101 Sternthology is really, I think, given control was given to Janhine, who programs it. But as far as I can tell, there's nothing substantial there. I don't even know if they replay the show on there, because I looked for it one day after it ended to start clipping, couldn't find it. So I don't even know if they do the replays on 101 anymore like they used to in the afternoon. I know they do the wrap-up show at 1 o'clock. I never listen to that, usually because I'm so burnt out by 10:30 after the show's done, or I'm trying to grab clips, or I actually have a job I do in the morning, believe it or not. I have a 40-hour-a-week job, so there's that. There's phone calls for kids, school, doctors. Poor me, right? So When I'm spinning all those plates, I just can't bring myself to listen to the wrap-up show unless I know there's going to be a guest on or something that I might want to hear. But there's always replays of that too on the app. So
That's pretty so we're gonna go into the closing of this three-parter, and it's been interesting because I've also although we've been doing it here, I also go down my own moments in which I listen to this audio numerous times, and it still astounds me on how Wiggy just his way of showing love is just to say, you guys aren't shit without me. It's just basically his way of going about it.
Yeah.
So let's go down to it.
All right.
For everything.
Now, as people took your word for me on your book. Now.
I did. Everybody said that was a love letter.
Not in circles that I travel.
Right. Sure.
Now.
Sure. What circles do you travel in?
Pretty low ones. Pretty low ones. Circles you would not want to travel in. They're not horseback riders. Now, let me tell you something.
Everybody said to me they gained a new appreciation of Howard as a human being from my book. But no.
See, those are the people who talk to you and are afraid to tell you what they thought.
I learned things about Howard that I never knew before.
Yeah, exactly. Things that I didn't necessarily want brought out.
No, but I also appreciate it.
Well, I certainly appreciate what you. Is that to get back at me what you wrote?
No, I thought that I took the high road.
Oh, yes,
all right. Thank you.
That was very observant of her to acknowledge that. Well, is he throwing stones back at me?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, these two have so much like passive aggressiveness and stuff they've been sitting on and stewing with for quite a while. Even he said, those people only tell you what you want to hear. They don't tell you the truth, and that's kind of a projection because he knows he's going to get some of that himself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a matter of weeding out, well, who's telling me the truth? Who can I trust? And I find it funny that they're both in the same position.
Mm-hmm.
They're both throwing stones at each other and trying to make it sound like it's a love letter to the other one. And they just can't come right out and say like the nicest things. There's always got to be some side digs going on.
I find it interesting that we're looking at this point. By this point, we have two authors in the Stern universe. Later on, we get Jackie comes out with his book, Bowie comes out with his book, and yet we still haven't heard anything on the Martian side. Will the Martian drop a book once all this is done? Would Ralph drop a book when this is all done?
No.
It's interesting to see who else in this universe would actually drop a book, or would anyone even care afterwards?
I kind of think Fred wants to just lay low. He doesn't want to be bothered by people. He doesn't want to do a book tour. He doesn't want to be badgered with questions and people trolling him. Not necessarily us, but just fans in general, with questions. And if his marriage is imploding, which I think it could be, because a lot of times that happens when your child goes off to college and they become an adult. Parents suddenly, the marriage isn't working. Like they just did it for the kid. And he never mentions Allison anymore. He'll mention Tess, his daughter, but he won't mention Allison. And that's kind of telling in a weird way.
I wrote bad things about you.
I'm no longer heard about it.
I
got over it.
What bad things did I write about you? I wrote that you saved my life.
I didn't want that known.
So sorry.
That's bad for my image.
You did.
Right. Jackie's mad at me for saving your life.
See? Something had to come out of that from Drew.
And Fred.
What's that, my friend?
In line with what Robin just said, I saved your life.
Okay.
Thank you.
Actually, Gary
No,
did.
excuse me, Fred. Fred, look at me. I gave you life.
Actually, Gary did.
All right.
He called 911.
I just, you know what? I expected the worst and got it for me. That's, you know, I mean, that's what I expected.
And you deserved it.
No, but I didn't expect
Oh,
it.
please. It was a comedy glowing thing, and I talked about what a great producer you were. That's all that matters.
Three
The
lines,
point,
but that's okay.
3 lines is enough.
You know, the few people, you know, how many people
more lines
say
than you'll
nice
get today.
things about you? How many people care? How many people see you as a talented
you have no
genius?
Jackie.
And our thanks, Fred.
Yeah. Robin, don't throw yourself in with Fred. Stop being his lawyer, okay? Give me a break. All right?
Is that glowing tribute?
If I did anything nice for you, stop being his lawyer. Okay?
Fred and I will be fine. You know that.
Well, I know
What's
that.
the problem?
That look he gave her over his glasses.
Mm-hmm.
Stop being her lawyer. And he like glares at her. You know, he cannot take anybody defending Fred or the fact that they might gang up and share, like, join their forces against and go against him. He does not take well to the numbers in the room. And Jackie's pretty quiet here. You know, she's sticking her nose out there and her chin, I guess. Yeah, Fred kind of rolls his eyes when Wiggy tells him, I gave you life. That really, that just sticks in my craw. When he says that to people, they all gave each other life. Like, none of this would have been possible without this combination.
Right.
It just wouldn't be what it was at its high point. And yet he has the nerve to take total credit for everything. Their marriages, their houses, their cars, their families, their children, everything. Sickening.
Yeah, but the other thing too is that Fred really does not know how to have a conversation or a debate, because anytime that I've heard he and Wiggy go at it, be it the Cookie Puss conversation or the Allison, Tony and Tina's weddings conversations, those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
Fred never knows how to respond to, you know, a statement and such. He's awkward. So the best thing for Robin to do is to be his litigator, his lawyer, because he really doesn't know how to put it in terms and where we can have a healthy conversation. He doesn't know how to do that. And as for the Wiggy train riding along, yeah, you got a group of foiled individuals who probably wouldn't been able to rub two sticks together to light a fire, who found a way to get band together to form this group.
Yeah, it's very it's just very telling to me, the way that the energy in the room. And Robin always, of course, puts her foot forward first, and Fred kind of rides along, gets a few jabs in, but she has no problem here sticking, you know, like I said, sticking her chin out and going after him.
What's the problem?
Problem is, I need to sell more books right now. No, Fred.
What, my friend?
Too bad.
I know. That's the general attitude around here.
And Jackie, F you.
That's the beginning of the chapter. Yep.
That's right. And then also the end.
F you too.
Oh, Jackie came in this morning on fire. He was like, F Jackie. F Jackie. Now he's happy because you're upset. You don't understand.
He revels in my misery.
This is saving my misery from Jackie.
He revels in my misery.
Right.
He revels in it.
That's not true. Not even a little.
He likes to see me boil in the pot.
I love it. Oh, I love it.
Listen, Jackie hates you, Fred. I love you.
I know that.
Jackie's the first guy to come in. Why? You know, I don't care what Fred makes. And hey, I don't care if you fire Fred. Give me what he makes. Then if you've got to get the money together that way, get it together that way.
There's a conversation that's taking place.
Like he's always said, it's a tribe of two Indians, and Jackie has to be the chief.
And I defend you every time, pal. Well, I wasn't going to write that in the book.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, I didn't want to
for
upset
covering
anybody.
me for saying something like that.
That would have been an eye-opener.
And if you want Jackie fired, then so be it, Robin. We'll take care
I
of
have
it.
never said, you see, there's a misnomer. I have never said fire, Jackie.
Right.
I have said
Wait,
why
wait,
negotiate.
Wait, let's not start this again.
No, screw the commercial.
him.
You
Why
just said
you do this?
Shut up.
Right.
You just said you had that conversation
Shut up.
every year.
Every year we
to
do.
fire me.
It's the truth.
And now you're backpedaling?
It's not to fire you, it's to let you go.
Listen, Robin, you're on fire this morning.
Oh, man.
Everybody calm down.
All right.
I'm getting heart palpitations.
All right.
I
All
mean, we're
right.
all being so honest.
Jeez. All right. It's just comedy. It's jokes. Everybody mellow out. Jackie, she's kidding.
Make sure you come running in here giggling during the
I'm
spot.
going to come in to tell you I love you.
I tried
And
that
she's
with
gonna hug you.
yesterday and you spit on me.
See, Jackie knows that that giggling is her defense mechanism for
Yep.
avoiding emotions. I just did a breakdown of Robin's astrology chart with Kayla, and Fillmore sat in for it. But Kayla and I firmly believe that her moon in Pisces in the 8th house is what makes her unable to connect emotionally in relationships. I mean, all of her relationships have pretty much failed because she is unable to provide any kind of nurturing or any sort of semblance of humanity in those, if it wasn't her way, it was hit the highway, that kind of thing. And people just got fed up with her bullshit. Same here with Jackie. Jackie's like, don't come in here during the break giggling at me because he's not having it. He's not really laughing. He's just sort of keeping a stone face during this, and then you look at this pause where you have it. Robin's in the back just laughing her ass off because she knows this is good radio. She knows that it makes Wiggy happy. And she knows that she can spit out some truths about Jackie, that she wanted him gone. She was tired of his bullshit or negotiations. And the fact that he would actually, how dare he try to get more money when he's the main crutch on the show for all the notes he's sending to Wiggy, all the jokes, all the, bits that he's writing. And what does she do? She barely is coherent enough to get the news out at points with her ums and ahs, yet she can sit there and laugh at Fred or laugh at Jackie. And she knows her job is secure. So she can say whatever she wants at this point.
Ah, Robin, the lioness, the Leo in the group.
All right. Why don't we take a break? Obviously, the show is metamorphosizing into something very warped as a result of my new book.
It's got a Sudaped now.
It's changed.
Right. No, it's just gotten more interesting.
morphing.
It's morphing into something horrible.
It's getting ugly.
It is getting ugly. All right. Why don't we take a break? Let's see if you hug Jackie, I'll hug Fred.
All right.
All right. Then I'll hug you and you hug me. All
I'll
right.
hug
We'll be
her
back
after
later.
you hug him because he's a homophobe and he won't let you.
He is a homophobe.
True.
Well, we'll have to see.
Fred, you are a homophobe.
Okay, if you say so.
Remember that night we were together and you were afraid to get him dressed in front of
How
me?
you construe that as homophobic?
You were afraid I was going to come on to you. I know it. I read it in your eyes.
Not even close.
All right.
Not even close.
You were ashamed of your own body.
Go hug him, Fred.
I am very modest.
Okay. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. Maybe I don't have that kind of thought process going along with me, but I don't ever have these thoughts of sharing a space with a man and believing that I think he's afraid I'm gonna try to get it on with him or try to push up on him. I don't have these thoughts. And no, he'll try to sit there and try to sell it like if it's in a comedic form, but you have it in the book. It's there forever, dude. Like, and this is not the first time you make these comments. You've said this about numerous people. I don't know where his mind goes when it comes to, man on man interaction.
Honestly, he still does it to this day with Fred. Literally, every week, every other week. And it'll just be a subtle comment, about, well, I would never blow a guy unless it's Fred. And then he'll just, that's his joke. That's his Wiggy on the fly joke. But Fred doesn't even respond anymore. He just kind of shoves it off and doesn't give it the attention maybe that Wiggy would want, or any kind of laugh even. Robin, of course, giggles, but he's been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
And no, and honestly, you're normal. That's the thing. You're a normal straight guy who, you're in a room, you have to get undressed around other men. Fine, you all just do it. You're not having these thoughts of, them creeping up on you or them afraid that you're going to creep up on them. And I just don't. I've been in locker rooms, with women for sports and, going to the gym when I used to go swimming and getting changed in the locker room. You just mind your own fucking business.
Right.
If you have to drop your towel and you're naked and you're getting dressed, you just do it. It's not, there's stories of stuff like things going on, but honestly, I just find myself somewhere private and go do it. I'm not looking around to see who's looking at me. I'm just going to do whatever I got to do.
Yeah, my modesty goes more along myself because I'm just not comfortable. Like, not because I'm afraid someone's going to sexually attack me or something like that. It's because I just don't feel like being like that around other people because of me. That's just how I am. Mm-hmm. Whereas they have conversations like, do you ever look? Do you ever sneak a look at somebody else? I'm like, no, I don't do that. No. Jesus.
Give him a hug.
I really am.
He doesn't have to hug me. He's not in any mood to hug me.
I'm hoping he'll hurt you.
He's going to give you one.
And him and that wife that I found her a romance and I found her life and I got her an acting career, she's probably egging him on.
No, she's not.
Oh, yes, she is.
Actually, no.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to get a hold of her.
Egging him on to do what? About this?
Oh, of course.
No, she's never egged me on about it.
She doesn't understand comedy like you and I do.
Never egged me on about it.
She's not the geniuses that we are.
You definitely are a genius.
Well, thank you. I write that in the book several times.
Fred will say that even in his anger.
Even in my anger, I must admit that.
Thank you, Fred. And I admit that about you.
I'm a dog.
That's what I admit about you.
You're very smart for a dog.
You're a talking dog.
There you go.
Oh, man.
I mean, to this day, man, it's like...
You're upsetting Jackie.
It's like
you know how I love Jackie. I don't want it upset.
All
right, let's take a break. Jackie, I'm sorry if any of this upset you.
This whole dog thing I've never heard before. I don't understand what that
is. It was
you
a
have
joke.
To read the book.
I said, wait a second. I'm going to read that part right now on the air. I demand that I read that on the air. I'm going to allow myself to read that on the air. I don't normally read my own book on the air because, quite frankly, I think you should have to go out and buy it. You shouldn't get any of this for free.
Free plug.
But
cheap pop.
Let me find the dog. Oh, here it is. All right. This is kind of long to go into, but
yeah.
Just those last couple of lines.
Okay. It was the most unselfish act and the nicest thing anyone had ever done for me in my short broadcast career. This is me talking about Fred. In this awful broadcast world I lived in, everyone was busy kicking one another in the teeth. All the announcers were too busy and worried about their next announcing gig to help anyone. Fred took time out of his busy schedule to help a nobody like me succeed. There was nothing in it for him, no hidden agenda. I once read, now let's get to this. I once read that dogs were the only beasts in the animal kingdom who had chosen to align themselves with man. Out of every stinking animal on this planet.
It sounds bad, doesn't it?
No, it doesn't. No, I'll stand by this. Out of every stinking animal on this planet, only the dog wanted to be aligned with man. Like a dog, Fred had chosen to be aligned with me for no apparent reason. And like a dog, I chose to be aligned with Fred. I call us both dogs.
All right.
And thank you. Fred, read the book. Okay, Fred.
Isn't there another sentence?
Nope. Just as no one could explain why the dog chose man, no one could explain why Fred chose Howard and why Howard chose Fred. Fred was an ally. Oh, that's a horrible thing to say, Fred. How dare you? I want an apology.
Mother dear.
How dare...
Okay, so that's not helping.
No, it's not.
He called him a beast, a dog, and that Howard was the man, always. Howard was never the dog.
Right.
But Fred is. And I don't know what Fred grabbed, but I know I saw him get that.
It was a cart. He grabbed
the cart. Yeah, super quick. He knew exactly what he wanted. That's like the genius of him that we always used to refer to back in the day, which I love to see. He knew exactly where it was.
Right.
And he scribbled something down. I don't know what it was. I can't tell yet. But the fact that Wiggy thinks this is helping, he's just driving this point even more into the ground. They're not letting, like a dog, Fred's not letting go of it, and Wiggy's not either.
even the comparison, it's I have a pet. I have a dog, and I picked him from the pet shop. And
okay,
when he came home with me, he aligned himself with me because I fed him. I gave him shelter. He got a bed. And for 14 years, knock on wood, he has been my loyal guy because I gave him shelter. I fed him. I gave him a bed.
Yes.
Like he said, I chose him and then he chose me. This is the same comparison that Wiggy's making. You're not helping the situation, sir.
Not at all.
Hey, oh, suddenly, I read the whole thing, Robin. Didn't sound too bad, did it?
It was pretty bad.
Oh, Robin, tell the truth. You've always been honest.
I'm telling you,
Robin,
you
are
read
obnoxious.
This relentless.
Hold on. Is that the extent of the dog analogy?
That was the dog analogy.
But it's on.
Oh,
all
you know,
the other
Jackie,
stuff.
Jackie.
No, I'm just asking a question.
That is the extent. She will not admit it.
He's called me a mental patient. He's called me a Martian.
I called me a dog and you a dog.
He's called me a dog.
If you're a dog, then I'm a dog. Hello, look at me.
The only reason I've kept around is because I
mental
fetch
case.
records.
Look at me, Schmecker.
Schmecker? What's a schmecker?
When dogs align themselves with other dogs, it's as a pack, is as a group, which I can say the group, yes, you guys are a pack of dogs. I could say that. But in the comparison in which he was saying with Fred and he, that's not what he was going with the analogy. That's not. And say on this show, he is awful when it comes to analogies. And which, by the way, I've always meant to say this, but Fillmore and the crew, you guys are geniuses for naming this show, quite frankly, because when I first heard the name of this show, it's perfect because I always observe that he says that tagline all the time.
He still does.
Bravo to everyone.
He just said Schmecker.
I like that.
Hey, look at me.
What?
I said you were a dog and I was a dog. We were drawn to each other. Now, I didn't call you a dog and me a man.
For no apparent reason.
That's right. All right. Good night, everybody. You know what? Screw you all. I'm taking the book off the market.
It's the 7th grade level. All right.
That's all. I'm going to open up the phones. I would like to know what people think of all this.
I don't know.
We've gone about any of this. 3 hours of no commercial. We just did commercial-free arguing for.
Well, this is a therapy session. Everybody was hurt.
Well, Tom is hurt the most because there's no commercials. We're going to take a break and we'll be back right after this.
What's going on? Come talk to me.
What?
Come talk to me.
Oh, Jesus. I have to pull.
What are you doing? You like to pull news? Are you looking for faxes that corroborate your story?
No. There's no corroboration.
So you're really upset?
I'm not upset about anything. It seems that Howard's upset. You know, you can't have a reaction to what he wrote. I don't know. I mean, that's the way it struck me. I used to think, this is exactly what the problem is. I used to think we could be honest with each other on the show, but it seems that that's all gone.
So how does that get fixed?
I don't think it's fixable because nobody can talk to anybody anymore.
So you feel like you're being honest, but it's just falling on deaf ears?
No, I think I'm being honest, and I'm getting looks like I don't want you to be so honest anymore.
Woof.
Wow. That was some loud Robin there. And that high-pitched kind of squeal that she lets out. Not to mention she can't look at the camera. I'm a big proponent of body language and learning from people and reading their energies. She did not want any parts of that interview right there at the fax machine while she's scrambling to get her news that she's going to butcher anyway. And then the fact that she's the only one who's honest. It's all, she's always the angel and everybody else is the bad guy.
Right.
Typical Robin.
Yeah, she came in with the intention of putting him on the spot. And they had points, but just couldn't drive it home. Just like the baseball analogy. You got man on second and third, but guys are in scoring position, but you just couldn't bring him home. Just couldn't bring him home.
Everybody was left on base. Ducks on the pond.
Yeah. So the book in question, Miss America, it so happened that I had the book. I had it. It was one of those instances where I was, at the time I was in the Stern cult, and I was able to find it at the Jersey Shore one year, and I said, "Oh, I should pick this up." So happens that I actually had gotten Miss America first, and then Private Parts after. Don't even ask. It was just a weird thing.
Don't ask. Okay.
Even still, at the time of my purchase, I actually was able to get the book for $6.85.
Oh, that's great.
So now that we brought this up, I was able to dust off the old cross-dressing cover and say let's go inside to see what the real hubbub was about, which was what comments were made. When you're going back into the book, what was your thoughts about the comments made?
Which comments are you talking about?
Anyone, because for instance, I didn't touch on Gary's the comments Wiki made on Gary, because many of the comments Gary made that Wiki made about Gary is something that he spoke about all the time. It wasn't anything new and irreverent. It was just his normal. He's a half-ass producer. I brought him in from, as a scraggly kid. He still makes mistakes. He's still bumbling, has no clue. He comes in as a slob, but he's a good producer.
Right, all of that, and then, but he gets the job done, or he's
on my same wavelength, but it's because of the price you got him for. You're getting him for pennies on a dollar.
Sure, you get what you pay for with him.
The Jackie stuff, same thing, nothing too crazy, because Jackie's cheap. Jackie's horrible when it comes to negotiation time. The F Jackie stuff was legitimate because that was the tagline, but also at the same time, it was F Jackie because Jackie was a nuisance to him. He was a headache. While everybody was trunk the tail, Jackie was the one that said, no, I want to have, negotiations about my money, about what I'm putting in as a work. So that was really cumbersome to Wiggy.
Right. I'm going to say, for the most part, that the little bit that Gary got written about him was a bunch of digs and then a compliment to smooth things over. And even Gary said, I got 3 lines or 3 paragraphs about him. So for as much as he said, the little bit that he did say about Gary, Gary seemed fine with it. He knows at this point he's still getting beaten down and he hasn't come back to really have a voice yet at this point in the show. Jackie, on the other hand, that's where this is where we got F Jackie from. That's the creation of it.
The one that I found more interesting was the Fred stuff, because in the book he mentions we hear about the dog stuff, but I thought the real deep and telling stuff with Fred was the fact that he didn't want to really pay too much of a compliment to Fred for basically saving his career. He wanted to make it seem as though more of, Fred was just around and he didn't really have much to do, so he would help me on my show. But what we really found out later on was that Wiggy was a mess. He couldn't organize. He couldn't put things together. He was disorganized. And when he went into the studios in Hartford and such, Fred was a guy that helped to carry him along because he really didn't have any much material.
Well, we've seen how organized Fred is with his carts, his memory for where stuff goes, or finding the place for these albums and putting the album with the album cover. that was right up his alley. And I think he honestly enjoyed hanging around the studio because he probably didn't have much else of a life. So for him, hanging in the studio and being Wiggy's dog or helper, assistant, cleaning up and organizing. I mean, Fred may have even just found it atrocious that Wiggy was so lazy and what's the word I'm looking for? Just disrespectful to the records, you know, to leave them laying on the floor and a disarray. So maybe Fred just couldn't stand, you know, maybe he's got some OCD and he couldn't stand to see that mess. So he decided just to hang out, and then who knew he did a Howard Cosell and a Richard Nixon or all these old timey voices back then that came into play on the show, or he would help out whatever it was, like helping Wiggy. So I think Fred was just kind of drawn to the studio and that job in a weird way. And then because Howard needed the help so badly, it just kind of was convenience, a friendship of convenience at some point.
What they found out later on, because they said how odd his behavior could be and how antisocial he was with them early on. What they find out later on is that Fred probably had the legit upbringing that Robin wrote in her book, where Fred was abused as a kid.
True.
You know, he didn't have a great relationship with his father. He hated his grandfather. So there was tough times growing up. He and his brother didn't have a great relationship. They weren't on speaking terms for many years. So when Wiggy walks into the life of his loyal dog Fred, Earth dog Fred goes hand in hand. Fred was coming from a place to where he wasn't trustworthy and such. Fred just saw that shit. I gotta work before this guy or after this guy on a shift, and if I'm gonna come in to see this place a mess and it's all over the place,
right?
I might as well situate this guy now before, you know, I have to do all this shit when his shift is over or before his shift starts. So I might as well just get it out the way. The other aspect is when it comes to Fred, and which was mentioned in the book as well, is that Fred never really hung out with the guys or, you know, Robin and such together after the show. The only time that they would hang out together was in writing sessions. Other than that, you know, 4 hours with them, 5 hours with them, he needed himself to decompress. So what he would do is stay in the studio, organize the carts, you know, get in his, if anyone had OCD, it would be him. And that was never really discussed on the show before. But just a segment of the book, it said Fred was an enigma. Half the time when we would look for him in the show's meeting, we don't even know where he is at. The station isn't as big, and there's really no place for him to hide, but Fred manages to disappear. It's one of those scary, inexplainable phenomenons that keeps the Martian myth still alive. Because Fred didn't want to have anything to do with you people.
No.
He took it as, and in many cases, I love my crew when at work, and I don't know how you are with yours, but I love the people I work with. And
absolutely,
many other guys, I can say I would either socialize after work with, and I have, and many other people, it's like I do my 7.5 and I'm out the door. I don't need to be with Fred. Is that guy every time with Fred? Is like, Fred, are you coming out to Jackie's party? We will see. Fred is we'll see. So they always found that odd.
Also, Fred was a smoker, so he could easily slip out of the building.
Right.
Go like around the corner to the back or to a block, you know, go down a block, and no one's going to find him then at that point. He's just going to blend in with the rest of the city. So I think Fred, didn't have social game. And maybe he just saw these people for what they were and was like, I don't want to spend any more time with them than I have to unless it's work.
Right. And for example, there's another part of the book where it says, sometimes when I talk to Fred, he has his eyes glassed over look and looks towards the sky and appears to have traveled to another planet. It doesn't really socialize with anyone for the show. He guards his privacy and is really usually exhibited uh, a mass distant of measures. He used to wear 2 watches on his wrist and wouldn't tell anyone why. Kind of weird. That is kind of peculiar. I don't know what that's all.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, unless it's one didn't have like seconds on it, like for commercials or figuring out songs. I mean, if you have one that's, the digital kind back in the day that you used to be able to have like a stopwatch on, those kind, that might make sense. And then just another one, maybe for, who knows, that was like a family heirloom kind of thing. But 2 watches is a little strange. Fred is eccentric, and it could just be more of the myth of Fred, the big mystery because he doesn't expose himself. And when he has, he's gotten beaten and burned for it. So
Right.
yeah, I wouldn't either. And granted, he had a terrible upbringing, so that can damage a person for life. I that's the only thing I could really have empathy for Fred for, is the fact that, he didn't have the silver spoon. He didn't have anybody on his side. Growing up, he sort of had to make it on his own and figure a way out of there. I don't know how close he was with his mother, but I know the men in his life have disappointed him greatly. Right. So he might be a little not so sure about Wiggy in this case, but at least he didn't want to have those records damaged because he needed them for his show. So it could have been purely selfish why he put those records away for him. I don't know.
Yeah, and lastly, before I touch up on Robin, he loves to stress the fact that Fred is a homophobe, and whether he is or not, once again, I touch upon the back of his upbringing, and they always said that Fred was raised in the sticks with the Latvian mother, Mm-hmm. So, and although they have found later on that his mother was very open sexually because of conversations with her and his stepfather, who he grew in a fond bond with his stepfather.
Right.
He did have his early misgivings about other men. So there's possibilities, like I said, that there was something more to his abuse than it led on to.
Right. There's no telling, excuse me, with what went on in Fred's early life, because he's not writing a book. He's not forthcoming with it. Like Robin, who has no problem dishing on her dad, but that's just another thing. But Fred, yeah, he's a hard read, but it seems like he's raised a good daughter. So whatever there was in the family cycle of karma, or whatever you want to call it, bad habits, he seemed to have broken that and was there, as not an absentee dad, but just a dad who was present and involved. Very proud of his daughter. He always spoke well about her. Never a bad thing.
Yeah. And then with them tying together with this dog analogy, it just doesn't help the relationship. This is why I often felt that Wiggy's built the bond with Robin because of the the necessary of her status on the show, the black female. She is the reason why I'm not supposed to be looked at as a racist or a misogynist. It's because why would I be that? I have a black female at the other end. So he has to, once again, trunk the tail with her. Whereas with Fred, although Fred has the longest history with him, Fred will always be in some way, shape, or form as the guy who made my career, but I'm not going to tell anybody that.
Just like he doesn't want to admit that Jackie wrote most of the jokes for him. He can't bear to give credit to people in a genuine, legit, 100% way. There's always got to be some way of just pulling them back down just enough.
It's always genius. Anytime I heard this say, Howard, genius, and I go, You people use that word very loosely when it comes to him, and I don't understand that. And one person that does it much is Robin, and it was interesting to find out his thoughts about Robin and their progression and how they've come along. And I just looked at the last paragraph for her chapter, and it's about her being cured, quote unquote.
Okay.
And it's just a knock on her to say, yeah, you went through the couple of weeks, a couple of months of quote unquote therapy. But once again, it's you saying, I don't need this. I'm out the door.
She diagnosed herself, and that was all. That was it. You know, she got enough work with the therapy to be able to function in life, to the point where she wasn't constantly flying off the handle, having nervous breakdowns, you know, losing her shit, for lack of a better phrase here. And once she learned how to control her anger, I have to question, is that when the cackling came in? The laughter was her defense in learning to deal with letdowns or disappointment or anger in the world. Is that just what the laughter comes in to do, to kind of just bring her to like a baseline so she can just laugh everything off?
So we often say that Wiggy is not one to be very mindful of his analogies. He's not very well associated with people putting two things together and making it similar in certain ways.
No.
But there was one part in particular that was very interesting when it was brought upon about Robin, and this is the one that you focused on, which is the Hitler and Mussolini analogies.
Oh, those were spot on. I'm not a history buff. I can't confirm that the comparisons used to the figures in German history during World War II are correct, but if they are, then the way the person who wrote the letter matched them up did an unbelievable job, even as far as putting Ralph as Eva Braun, which might be one of my favorites. It's a tough one. It's a toss-up between Mussolini and Eva Braun.
So we have a voice from above who actually read off some of these analogies, and the voice might sound familiar to you guys, but if not, you'll get it later. So this is on one aspect in which was the comparison made. Oh, voice from above.
Robin Quivers plays the part of Benito Mussolini perfectly. Mussolini considered himself superior in talent and intellect to Hitler. Of course, he was mistaken.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, she is known to be I guess, the brightest of the bunch in there.
Well, she tried to have her own talk show. She had the Chatter, which lasted on the 101 channel for like a month with Will Murray. And, you know, she was pretty much left to writing one book, right? And then, the Vegucation books, the Girls' Night Out, the 15 Foundation. She had to find other outlets for her knowledge to spread all of her dieting and living healthy until who came knocking? The big C.
Yeah.
And yeah, her health. She never got back on that health train pretty much after that. I mean, she's come closest this year with her fasting technique, which we still question in the days of Ozempic now, it's hard to know who's telling the truth about their weight loss and who's taking the easy way out. So,
listen, her magic and her trips to Guatemala and such apparently didn't pan out the way it should.
No, the shaman just didn't do his job right, I guess. So
La medicina. He said you have to take la medicina.
Mussolini watched with jealousy as Hitler took command of the European political stage during the 1930s. Il Duce wanted desperately to become a major player in European and world politics. Due to lack of talent and resources, he could do little except sit on the sidelines and hope that somebody would notice him.
Funny that the voice from above is very oddly familiar, but even so, yeah, it's very similar to Private Parts coming out, the movie and the book, Miss America, the E show, the CBS show,
the 60 Minutes he did,
the 60-minute piece in which she said she was jealous when she saw it.
Right, she got cut out of it if she did record for it, and yeah, that didn't, and then for her to sit back while he complains about Ed Bradley's funeral and being put in the back. She wasn't even at the funeral, but like he invited himself. Let's just leave it at that, because of the 60 Minutes interview. Like that was recent or something. So yeah, she has to sit back and seethe in jealousy. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm saying the Dateline pieces, the biographies. He had a lot going on, and she's like, oh, like the old Dane Cook line. Oh, why not me?
Well, you didn't have a team
Just
of writers.
Robin agrees and laughs at each word you say. Mussolini was Hitler's bootlicking puppet. His favorite words were "Yes, mein Führer."
I love that.
I'm wondering what would be. Oh, I know her tagline will be, "Oh, Howard."
You're my bootlicker, right, Robin? Right?
Oh, Howard. Oh, whenever something's shocking, it's what?
I didn't know that.
What?
Kurt
Mussolini
Cobain
showered
died?
De Fuhrer with gifts and compliments whenever Hitler enjoyed a political or military success, but Mussolini would secretly complain to his own fascist ministers that the arrogant Hitler would soon meet his match and suffer devastating defeats.
Ooh, now there? That would be interesting.
Well, as far as predicting, I think Robin predicted Wiggy's divorce.
Right, and that he would be married again. that's another
within a year. Yeah.
Or the one thing I would say is that she never she didn't say that there was any other challengers to the throne of King of All Media, but she had to be aware of the up and comers like an ONA, and the likes of how morning radio, especially with the Spanish stations, was overtaking them. So
in New York, yeah.
You had to be aware that even LA was destroying them with in the markets. It's interesting.
I wonder how she felt about the recent Bruce Springsteen interview on HBO and the super low ratings that got, like the 0.02 rating, which was 200,000 people watching.
Wow.
So she wasn't part of that, really. No. 0.0.
Mussolini did dare to start a few projects of his own, such as the invasions of Ethiopia, Albania, and Greece. In most of these independent ventures, Mussolini was in over his head, and he had to seek Hitler's help to bail himself out of trouble.
Oh, did we mention the chatter? Did we mention her Sally Jesse Raphael?
Oh, you read my mind. There you go.
Oh man, oof. How did that go?
Mussolini was the last person in the world to realize that his rise to world prominence came upon the coattails of Adolf Hitler. Mussolini would have been a complete failure if Hitler was not around to hold his hand. Hitler ignored Mussolini's many shortcomings and remained extremely loyal to the fallen Il Duce. Hitler was willing to do anything to preserve the illusion that Mussolini was still a powerful and talented man, although no one else believed this to be true.
Oof.
So when they talk about songs that portray Robin as sexual in any way, he's still keeping that facade of, she's sexy and hot going, talking about her makeup, her hair, and how skinny she is, things like that. Always cracks me up because it's just like he's trying to keep up this, talking her up in a way. Also, the hand holding, when she was getting her surgery, he went and got the doctors at Sloan Kettering.
Mm-hmm.
He made sure to be by her bedside when she woke up. He paid for all that, most likely. And he still says to this day, I'm the reason you're alive. So he holds that over her head, just like Hitler would with Mussolini.
Which, by the way, does he still, to this day, try to sell that she's sexually active or stuff like that?
Every now and then there'll be a song about Robin, or there'll be drops that Fred plays. And he'll often put her in a conversation with, say, like Reggie Jackson or Stephen A. Smith, in that she could be with them. And that, what did they call it this week? Plucking her banjo when she plays with herself about Jake Gyllenhaal, who's doing a UFC movie. So yes, they do portray her in a sexual way still.
Oof.
I know.
Mussolini
I'm
might have
sorry.
been better served if he could have recognized his limitations. He could not accept the fact that he was not a world-class talent. He would have served the Axis cause by accepting his role as Hitler's political mistress and by following Hitler's instructions.
Yep.
Well, that pretty much goes to say about what he says for the longest time about not only her, but the rest of the crew. And I don't know if it's his fear that actually disrupts everybody else's universe, or the fact that he may be right, but he does always question these individuals. He's always questioned Jackie. Why do you need to do Star Search? Why do you need to go and speak to these newspapers that are just going to lambast you? Why do you do the same thing with Robin? Why do you really do that? Why do you need to go on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to do that?
Jeopardy.
Jeopardy and such. It's like I never got to see or really understand at the time why he was doing that, but I can honestly say that he might have been right.
There's two ways of looking at it, and it depending on how she comes off on those shows. Is one, she's plugging the show, she's getting free press,
right,
and it's like an advertisement for the show,
right.
But that can go badly if she comes off unlikable or looks stupid, or does something embarrassing. Even if you look stupid, there's a way to be gracious about it. Be like, I'm nervous. I can't believe I said that. What is pawn? Just there's a way to carry yourself and be sweet and likable. But if you're just going to be hard like she was on Sally Jesse, then no, do not put her on TV, because those things just aren't going to help your brand. And that's what it comes down to with Wiggy. It's all about what they can do for him.
Yeah, he always, gave, for the most part, he gave everybody else shit. But for like her, he said, I prefer that you didn't do it. But he'll also say that, yeah, at least she'll be able to represent the show a little bit more better. I remember when Fred did like a gig on on Fuse, which was like a third-rate MTV channel, and he had like a segment there, and he's like, Fred, like, when did you become a personality? Like he was like, yeah. But I don't know. I kind of think that in this segment, the person who put this together kind of nailed it.
Absolutely. It was dead on.
So, to wrap up the 3-part and whole, what's your take on, because this is basically what, maybe 30 years, almost to the day, almost to the year and such, almost, of what was during that time period, his thoughts about the crew. Do you think that those those feelings are still there, or do you believe that some things have changed, his feelings and beliefs on the crew now?
Not for Fred. No. It's kind of proven, like with Jackie. I think what he said about Jackie kind of came true because the contentious negotiations just didn't pan out. And it was almost like it was building to a crescendo of, well, fine, fuck you. If this is it, this is your last chance. And he always talks about Wiggy always talks about last chances and how you blew it. It's based on a Beatles song. And I hate Beatles talk, but it's something I think that when Wiggy's mind is obsessed with revenge or resentment or people who have crossed him in his Mean Girl burn book, that Jackie is a definite front runner for, most hated. Like, Jackie kind of turned the tides on the show because the show became something different. Sure, it opened the door for other comedians and then Artie to come in, but like those years with Jackie were something special. And he could even look back and go, you know what? We got some of our best ratings when he was on the show. And as much therapy as he's had, I don't know that he can recognize what Jackie did for him. So that part, I often wonder, like, how he sees Jackie, or is he just still bitter because Jackie didn't do what he wanted him to do, or Jackie couldn't get up in the mornings, or for whatever reason, and that Jackie will go out and maybe talk badly about him, and that's never going to fly. So that would put him in like permanent 7th level of hell for Wiggy. Gary, nothing's changed. Gary's even controlled by Marcy now. He's got a wrangler for him, and he keeps him in check all the time, probably once every other month or once a month, putting him in his place. Like, he just had to come on this past week and tell everybody how he spent $500 on a bottle of scotch for Bowie with his name engraved in it. But he's sick of birthday gifts and he doesn't want to do them, but Beth makes them. So it became like something nice got turned into something bitchy and braggy. So there you go, Bowie. Enjoy your scotch. He says that he can't get out of doing gifts with Robin because she has nobody and he's like her work husband and he feels bad for her. So even that, like, her gifts are just, sympathy gifts, empathy gifts for some, even though he doesn't have those qualities. I think Beef has beat him down so much that he knows that he has to do something for her, because if he doesn't, he'll never hear the end of it. And they both, like, she'll shower him with a ton of gifts and Oprah journals and stuff that he'll even admit to throwing in the trash.
All right.
But there's some dance they will continue to do with their gifts, whether they're good, bad, or ugly. And then they use it and pay themselves back as content on the air every year. So all that money he spent on Bowie's bottle bought him like 15 minutes on air talking about gifts. The way he talked about Fred and the dog thing, I think it's just, Fred is just so beaten down. And for example, this week, there was, again, talk about the greatest guitarists of all time, because Guitar Magazine put out an article and ranked the top 20 or 25. Well, Fred got in a couple minutes too many of dropping knowledge on everybody and arguing with Nowicki and Bowie and Robin, and Howard was trying to jump in. He's like that annoying kid at the party who just like is always trying to insert himself in conversations that he knows nothing about. And the adults are trying to talk. Well, Fred was trying to talk and he was making good points as far as I could tell. I'm not a big guitar person, but everything he was saying was backed up with examples and knowledge. And he put up a good discussion. All of a sudden, Wiggy chimes in and goes, Fred, what happened to you? Where did all this come from? And he like basically told him to shut and ended that segment. So Fred doesn't have the personality to be social, but when he knows something like music and guitarists and he's able to speak on it for like 3 minutes on a monologue all by himself and debate people on why they're wrong, he got punished for it or degraded in a weird way. So yeah, I mean, if I'm beaten down enough, he's still treated like a dog. Honestly, not that I care because Fred's a dick to me, not to me, but like in my mind,
I was supposed
the
to say,
way
how hurt
he
you?
throws, the way he throws around the C word and talks about women when he's doing like Ronnie impressions or Bubba impressions. It's not that I'm soft. It's just that it's too much. And it's nothing creative or new. It's the same old bullshit over and over. And I just get tired of it, honestly.
Well, with Fred, it's always been is who's your Fred? It's wonderful Fred.
Yeah,
Who's
take that.
Fred is wonderful. And it's always been like the two main subject matters that Fred would, come alive with. It's either music or supermodels. That's all we pretty much know him for.
And the fact that they did the whole Win Fred's Money segment, which I'm pretty sure is rigged. And he always went second. He always had headphones on that we don't know what was playing in him, what he was listening to, or if the questions were prearranged. So it just doesn't, he hasn't done enough to make me a cheerleader for him in any way. Even it's hard to be a cheerleader for any of these people because I believe everyone is awful in their own way on this show. Whether it's personal, social, on the show, to each other, I don't know. I mean, we've got good reason to think Bowie's cheated on his wife. Okay, so yeah. Robin ditched her little sister, Leah. Like they all have awful qualities and they've all suffered and had health issues and people in their life die, but so have I. You move on, you grow and you mature, but for the sake of this show and being in the spotlight as they are, it's hard. It's really, really hard as the years go on to find likable qualities for anybody there. I think maybe Richard, even though I know he plays up the dumb Kansas guy, Missouri guy, what is it? Kansas City, Missouri. So yeah. Sal is just a creep. I can't find anybody I like on there. I'll go with Richard, even though he's kind of really disgusting, but he's just a kid at heart. His wife is an Eagles fan, so I'll take Kristen Christie. Yeah, it's really tough. I mean, Wilding, I hate. Ralph, I cannot stand. Beth, I hate. It's just, there's no redeemable qualities within the group. Blit is awful. The new girl, Samantha, it's just not our Sam. It's a girl in the show that's a writer, and she does the Ivanka Trump voice. They've got Craig Gass back. He's okay, I guess, but I don't need more Kiss impressions. I don't need Trump impressions. So there's just not much to offer there. It's so sad. The only fun thing is the people in my live thread that I get to joke around with and share the pain as a support group for each other. And anybody who's canceled the show can just check in and see what they're not missing.
Yeah.
I appreciate all the kind words from people who mention, I'm doing God's work. And I posted a picture of a flying nun saying, I'll convert you all. And that's kind of how I feel, like a missionary going out telling people don't waste your money. And then we have great fans who will be like, well, here's a free trial. You don't even need a credit card for 3 months. And that's how I won't give away who it is on a thread, but one of the guys has just gotten by with free memberships for over a year now. And I love it because Sirius isn't getting a penny. He is a great contributor, helps me all the time when I can't be there. And everybody else, it's just a fun place, a fun thing to do. So we're not alone in our pain and suffering while we're listening. And it's like, no, I'm not crazy. And why am I here? At least I'm here with other people that can make fun of it with me. And that brings a lot of comfort, I think, to people who maybe listen later in the day and go read back what we write. And that's
Right.
fun too. So
I've often said when it becomes work, it's not fun anymore. I'm not gonna do it anymore.
not going to do it, right?
I gotta do it. Just as short, just quickly. It's funny that the whole Jackie thing came up because I'll go to our sports reference. That whole Jackie negotiation stuff. I kind of thought about it when the Lamar Jackson situation that's happening with him. I said, "Wow, he's Jackie." I said, "He's Jackie."
Yeah.
He didn't have a management team, and look where he's at now. He's still gonna be playing football somewhere, but he's not gonna. I'm not gonna be in Chuckles next week. But this is a fun episode to go through, man. Especially when it comes to we are the elder statesmen. When we go down our rabbit holes, we go down through the older stuff. The formative years, the golden age of Stern.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And for us to look back at the Miss America book and comments and how to this day those sentiments are still alive and well in the show these days. It's a testament to maybe the fact that this show should have been put out of its misery about 5-10 years ago. Who knows?
I really believe that. This last contract did not need to happen. And 3 years before that, didn't need it. I think around 2015 is when I started rolling my eyes on a daily basis about all the gay stuff of Richard and Sal, or just the way it was so slow. Things just slowed down. Wiggy used to talk a lot faster. Now it's like half speed or a quarter speed of what he used to be, and the pauses are inordinately big. It's a lot more technical problems now more than ever, since they're Zooming it or Skyping, or I don't know what they're doing, because Zoom is like 30-minute meetings and then you got to restart.
And I wouldn't even understand why they would use that anymore when there's other platforms that are much easier, less, it's the interface is much easier. I actually use one on my show now that is, and it's inexpensive and it's so smooth with overlays and everything. And yet no one has yet been able to, but they're always late. They move from carts to digital like 5 years after 5 or 10 years after the transition. I remember listening to it the other day, an old episode where Dr. Drew was in there and he's talking about his foray into podcasting. And this is 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And Wiggy's like, is that a lucrative thing? Can you make money from that? And he's like, oh yeah. Lord. Mark Maron was in there at the same time. And he's like, how many listeners do you get for your podcast? He goes, every episode, roughly about 350, 400,000. And he's like, really? Wow. He goes, oh yeah. And remember, and at that time, Maron, Carolla, Rogan, they were the quintessential podcasters.
I think the tipping point was the pandemic. Obviously, for the show, because they had to leave the office. It showed they could all work from home. Mm-hmm. It showed they could interview people from anywhere. They just have to send like a suitcase of equipment or have them show up at the LA office or the New York office. But it showed that Wiggy didn't have to be there. Right. And for him to realize that people like Maron were getting 350,000 listeners, that's more than Wiggy gets now.
Yeah.
He's lucky if he breaks 100,000. And those are just boomers that don't know how to cancel their subscriptions.
Right.
And a couple of us that are just sadomasochists that are doing a job, and it's painful, but we're doing it. We're in the mines.
We have a Stern bashing podcast. I mean, we have to keep it going.
I have to listen for that. But like I said, I provide a service for people that don't listen. I keep them clued in and You know, maybe I'll even post the awful Metamucil Man song that he sang this week. As if Smell My Tookus wasn't bad enough. Now it's Metamucil Man. It's always like shit and turds and ass, and I'm fucking sick of that shit. My God. 14-year-old in a 69-year-old body. It's disgusting.
The rage is still there, ladies and gentlemen. It is.
Oh, it is strong, and it grows some days. Ugh.
But thanks again, my dear, for your time. And
you too, sweetie.
It's been
love you.
It's been a long time coming due to conflicting schedules, but we wrapped it up, ladies and gentlemen. And thanks again for your time, your listening, and for your contributions on Patreon, and also your viewership and streams on YouTube. You guys have been amazing and great for us all. And I love your comments, even though I know a lot of you people who hate the way I laugh during my say, but I'm the arty of this show, so I laugh at my own stuff.
Oh, thanks. Love you guys.
All right, guys. Thanks again for your time. And Raven, much love. And will we doing something else soon?
We'll find a new one. You got it.
All right, guys. And as always, as my send-off will say, goodbye, my sweet loves.
Yeah, when midgets get mad, and I've seen this like in show business, there was a midget in Dirty Work, and the call sheet just said like Norm Macdonald, Artie Lang, and it just said midget.
Oh.
And the fucking midget went ballistic and called his agent, and his agent was a midget.
But this broad is not really.
Yeah, because I guess they take care of each other. And start screaming at how dare you?
Those midgets always stick together.
He's got a name like Norm and Artie, blah blah blah. And the next day,
he's right.
Well, he's 100% right.
Right.
But
Midget.
it just said midget, like chair. 8
Yeah,
a.m.
that's like saying and the black. You know,
Well,
and it would really
right.
be
Well,
something
some
That's not right.
Some hilarious kid though in the office. And as wrong as it says, it was so funny. The next day, the midget's name was Paul. Forget his last name, but the next day it said Paul the Midget.
No, they still did that.
It said Paul the Midget. And I said,
Who's writing?
Well, they want to make sure.
Who is writing up there?